Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Pleb Life Podcast, and as of right now, it's as we're recording this, it's June 7th, 7:45 p.m., and this isn't the usual topic, but currently there is a riot going on down in LA. Now, it's what I would call a riot. It is not what the media, I don't think that it's been officially classified as a riot by the local authorities just yet. It is a protest. Anti-ICE protest is what most of the headlines are saying, and it's been going on now for about 48 hours. There's been fires, tear gas deployed. I have several different live feeds here that show a few different angles of a few different areas. These gentlemen here were shooting tear gas a few minutes ago, but that looks like it's calmed down. And let's see. There is an intersection. This intersection here seems to
got gassed.
have a lot, be getting a lot of attention too.
Somebody in the crowd had it gas that did the blood.
There's a car there that's been set on fire. I think that happened the first night, and this has been sort of like a center of Dale's Donuts. That's a pretty iconic intersection. I think I remember that from San Andreas. But this has sort of become an epicenter of like a rally point for a lot of demonstrators. Let's see. So this was updated about 5 minutes ago, June 7th, 2025. President Donald Trump is deploying 2,000 California National Guard troops over the governor's objection. So the governor has objected, I guess, and the president decided to do it anyway. I didn't know you could do that. I thought it was solely up to the governor to make the final call. But let's see. Over the governor's objection to Los Angeles, where protesters Saturday led to clashes, or protests led to clashes between immigration authorities and demonstrators. The White House said in a statement Saturday that Trump was deploying the guardsmen to address the lawlessness that has been allowed to fester in California. California Governor Newsom, a Democrat, had to throw that in there. A Democrat objected to the move and said in a post on X that the move from Republican president was profusely inflammatory and will only escalate tensions. The White House's move to dramatically ratchet up the response came as protests in Los Angeles extended into a second day where tear gas smoke filled the air, with protesters faced off with Border Patrol personnel in riot gear. In a signal of the administration's aggressive approach, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth threatened in a post on X to deploy the U.S. military. And this is the picture that they show you. This is a pretty good picture, actually. This looks like it should be this is going to be one of the loading screens on the next San Andreas. That was actually the last video game I played at length and completed, by the way. I tried Call of Duty a couple times since then, but that's too much. Anyway, let's see. Okay, Pete Hegseth has threatened. That's just another weird way of describing things right now. If violence continues, active duty Marines at Camp Pendleton will also be mobilized. They are on high alert, Hegseth said. Trump federalized part of the California's National Guard under what is known as Title 10 authority, which places him, not the governor, atop the chain of command, according to Newsom's office. There it is. That's why that missing piece of information there. The White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement that the work on the immigration authorities were doing met that the work that that the work the immigration authorities were doing when met with protests is essential to halting and reversing the invasion of illegal criminals into the United States. In the wake of this violence, California's feckless Democrat leaders have completely abdicated their responsibility to protect their citizens. Abdicated. I'm a real big fan of three-syllable words. But I feel like in a time like this, we need to keep the language as simple as possible, simple and concise as we can, because of the amount of people that are paying attention and actually need to know. Not everybody is a freaking English graduate. The president's move came shortly after he issued a threat on his social media network that said if Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass didn't do their jobs, and the federal government would step in and solve the problems. Riots, looters, the way it should be solved. You know, I'm not really a big fan. I do not like even the sound of hearing federal agents or military in the streets. But I don't know. These two were going to let the damn city burn down a few months ago. So, yeah, I guess it's time for the next guy to do something about it. Like, do you really want these two in charge of what's going on right now? Because of, like, I feel like their performance during the last disaster should really encourage people to look elsewhere for leadership during times of, these kind of crazy times. Border Patrol personnel in riot gear and gas masks stood guard outside an industrial park city of Paramount. Outside of industrial park in the city of Paramount, deploying tear gas as bystanders and protesters gathered on medians and across the street. Some jeered at officers while recording the event on smartphones. Everybody's recording the event on smartphones. One handheld sign read, "No human being is illegal." Smoke rose from burning shrubbery and refuse in the streets. And demonstrators kicked at Border Patrol vehicles. A boulevard was closed off to traffic as Border Patrol agents circulated through a community where more than 80% of residents identify themselves as Latino. I'm not sure. I seriously doubt that 80% of the people in the neighborhood identify as Latino. I would say not very many people who actually live in that neighborhood currently. The ones that went away to college, they probably say Latino, but I guarantee you nobody is down there talking like that. Nobody. Latino is not a word that people use when describing themselves. California Highway Patrol said Newsom had directed the agency to deploy the additional officers to maintain public safety on state highways, roads, and the agency will work to keep the peace. Well, they failed that. As you can see, the roads are not safe. In 2020, Trump asked governors of several states to deploy their National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. to quell protests that arose after George Floyd was killed by the Minneapolis police officers. Many of the governors agreed sending troops to the federal district. At the time, Trump also threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act for protesters following Floyd's death in Minneapolis. Well, they were burning down cities. An intervention rarely seen in the modern American history, because rarely. But the Defense Secretary Mark Esper pushed back, saying the law should be invoked only in the most urgent and dire of situations. They did it to those people in Waco.
Driver, how you doing?
Trump did not invoke the Insurrection Act during his first term and did not invoke it Saturday, according
like them Chinese drones and big huge ones. Definitely let me know.
And I think it should be has not,
Whatever that is.
because it's still Saturday. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers executed search warrants at multiple locations Friday. It was Friday, including outside a clothing warehouse in a fashion district. This action came after a judge found probable cause that the employer was using fictitious documents for some of his workers. According to representatives for Homeland Security investigations in the U.S. Attorney's Office, a tense scene unfolded outside as a crowd tried to block agents from driving away. Advocates for immigration rights said that there are also migration detentions outside Home Depot stores and donut shops. DHS said that in a statement that recent ICE operations in Los Angeles resulted in the arrest of 118 immigrants, including 5 people linked to a criminal organization and people with prior criminal history. So I bet they were going after these 5 people, and in doing so, they came across another, 113 people. Following the Friday arrest, protesters gathered in the evening outside a federal detention center, chanting, "Set them free, let them stay." Some held signs with anti-ICE slogans, and some scrawled graffiti on the building. Some set fires. Among those arrested at the protest was David Huerta, a regional president of the Service Employees International Union. Justice Department spokesperson Karen McAvoy confirmed that he was being held Saturday at a Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles ahead of the scheduled Monday court appearance. It was not clear whether Huerta had legal representation. Democratic Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called for his immediate release in a social media post. He cited a disturbing pattern of arresting and detaining American citizens for exercising their right to free speech. Oh, man. That's been happening for a while, Chuck. I think you guys up in Congress started it, right? The immigration arrests come as Trump and his administration push to fulfill promises of mass deportations across the country. Mayor Karen Bass said the activity was meant to sow terror in the nation's second largest city. In a statement Saturday, ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons chided Bass for chided. What is he? What does it look like when someone's chiding someone? When you're being chided, how does it feel? Like ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons chided Bass for the city's response to the protest. Mayor Bass took the side of chaos and lawlessness over law enforcement. Well, she laughed while her city was burning down, so Lyons said, "Make no mistake, ICE will continue to enforce our nation's immigration laws and arrested criminal illegal aliens." And he said that in his sternest voice. Lee reported from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Price from Bridgewater, New Jersey. So this was Michelle Price. Well, thank you, Michelle, for that very colorful description of what's going on right now. Yep. Starting up. It's 8:15 now. Sun setting. Night shift's about to show up, or they're showing up right now. Or is it still swing shifts? Swing shifts back from lunch. They got to finish strong. So that's all I've got for you guys right now. This thing is still unfolding. By the time I get this chopped up, edited, and put online, I'm sure there's a lot more that's probably going to have happened. So, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I will see you next time.
Not without my TV. No, but seriously, bring the TV.